Hey guys, it's Mark here. It's been a long time. I ran into some serious technical issues that for someone who is technologically fluent would be nothing, but for me they were a long-term challenge. So I think I finally got it sorted. If you're watching this video, I did, and I'm happy about that. Very frustrating, but not a huge amount going on at the front. That's not true. That's not true. I got some stuff going on. Let's just take you through. Hopefully I can do this in a few clips. So let's look at some film. Here at the farmer's market this morning, getting set up. It was 50 degrees when I went out and did the chores, so we're definitely into the cooler part of the year. Going to get a high of 71 today. And so the vendors are all getting themselves set up here in Lady Lake. It's the town sports complex, so we're on the soccer field. Football for those in Europe who are watching this. It's another chilly morning here, and that's just going to be the way it is from this point forward for the rest of the season, I guess. Great farmer's market yesterday. Met a lot of people, a lot of good connections, got their name out there, a lot of business cards, people signing up for emails and to learn about our broilers, eggs, and also what we're going to do with those guys in the spring. I've got chicks getting shipped today, broilers, so meat birds, being shipped today. So they should be here in the next day or two. It's like as I look around, I see all these things that I need to do. I gotta cut this all out. I gotta clean this up. I gotta get rid of this stuff. Just noticed, looks like we had a bear incursion last night. The hives are trashed. The fence is crushed down over here, and one of the hives has been dragged over next to the fence. We got 13 of these girls in here now. They're a little shell-shocked. There's what the final configuration looks like. Opened up a little more ground for the steers. And Kevin is back. He's become a regular presence here. Yeah, not very many eggs tonight. Yeah, lots of activity the last couple days, and it's a good thing. A lot of progress type of stuff. So I'm eating breakfast, and apparently it's breakfast theater. Yeah, little girl's in a coop for the first time. Oh, well, that didn't take long. That didn't take long. You can see there and there and there are feathers, and there's a trail of feathers being let off. So we think a bobcat got in here right after I let everybody out yesterday. This used to be covered with thick grass, just a dirt mound. It was a bigger dirt mound before, and it used to be a backstop for bullets. And now I'm gonna have to go build something else somewhere else. And there you go. So what now? What am I working on today? Well, you saw those broilers that are in the brooder. It's time for them to come out of the brooder and to go out on pasture. Before I do that, I had two challenges that I needed to sort out. Number one, I needed another energizer for electric fencing, poultry netting, to go around the brooder. Because something happened. What happened was I had my young pullets in there, and looked like raccoons got out there and went right either under or through my electric poultry netting. And the reason they could do that is because the energizer was just not pumping out enough power. The battery was low. I didn't know it. But they reached underneath, and it looks like they dragged out one chick, one young pullet, because it was like a pile of feathers there where it's almost like her feathers were stripped off as she was ripped out from the underside of it. Graphic. I apologize for that. The next one's better. They reached in and they could only grab a leg of a bird, and the bird was trying not to come out, and they actually physically ripped the leg off the chick. And then, of course, it died there in with its sisters. So, not happy about that. So, two things had to get sorted before they go out on pasture. Number one, I needed new netting and a new energizer, something a little more current than the one that I had on there. So I wanted to premiere one, and I got a new setup, and I'll show that probably a little bit later. The second thing was I feel like I need to create an additional barrier along the bottom of the chicken tractor. And it's a physical barrier. But the catch is it can't be heavy because I have to move that a couple times a day. So there's a weight issue versus a physical barrier issue. And I think I've got a solution. Before I do that, I got to bring the steers a little afternoon snack. We had a late lunch, let's call it that. I'm supplementing the steers with hay right now. And so they get a few bales a day. It's just at this time of year, my grass does not grow back fast. Standard. We've been especially dry this year down here in Florida. And so the grass has just not really been fired up the way it usually is, or what we've seen in the last couple of years. And so because the pasture's still green, and I don't water it, it's still green, but it's not really growing, right? So the steers will eat it down until it's about 3.5 inches, 3.5 inches long, and that's about the time for them to move on. When it gets back up to around 10 inches in length, it's time to put the steers back onto it. That's going to take a while. So what I've done is taken a page out of, playbook of a lot of guys online, but particularly some stuff I saw Greg Judy talking about. And I suppose Joel Salatin, Justin Rhodes, you know, their thing was, one thing you can do is pick an area on your farm where you can just set your animals in for an extended period of time. They called it a sacrificial paddock, I think, basically meaning that the animals are going to be in there, they're going to walk on it, they're going to chew it up. There's a lot going on, and you just got to feed them in that spot. And so there could be more extensive damage to that particular area. I happen to only have 4 steers, and I've got a very large paddock set up. It goes from all the way over there, down, and then all the way out there to the fence in the distance. Meanwhile, in here also is all of this green. It's not stuff that they like. It's not stuff that they like. They would rather have fresh grass. They would rather have the hay. They'd rather have a lot of things. But they can eat this stuff. They just don't really dig on it that much. So by keeping them out here, you know, they get the hay, but then they kind of get bored and they're like, I got to eat something. So they walk along and they nibble and they chew. Over time, nibbling and chewing is going to clear this up for me. And that's what I want to do. In fact, I'd love to be able to get them into that far section down there and really get that opened up too. I was talking about getting goats. I don't know about that. But for now, this is the plan until such time as the pasture over here gets grown back long enough that I can put them on there for forage. Also got to keep the water full. And out here in the woods, the leaves are falling in there. I don't need that in their way, so use a pool strainer just to clear this out and keep the debris out of the feeder. It's quick and easy. Does a good job. And when I'm done with it, just drop it right there. I had originally invested in a automatic filling system, but I ran into a problem with it. The float works great, right? So water gets there, it closes, the water shuts off. One of the things I found is that over time, and I don't mean a lot of time, but I mean like the course of a night, this is the port where the hose would go in. Well, you can see it's an unsupported position, and so the pressure is always pulling down on this plastic connection here. And so that's a problem that it's going to start having some effects on it over time, the weight of the hose. The other thing that happens is when it's off, that pressure in there ever slowly, which is really slow, ever so slowly over time, it begins to back out of the threads, right? So it starts to kind of unscrew itself just from the pressure and the backwards pressure on that, until it gets to the point that it starts to spring leaks and relieve that pressure. Then it's fine. Problem is, if you're not around and you don't see it, it's going to be spraying water until you do. And that creates a real mess. And plus, you know, you lose a lot of water. And when you have a dry season like this, you don't want your well to be filling up nothing out here. So I stopped using these, and so I just check the troughs a couple times a day just to make sure they're good. All right, back to my original issue here. I need to find a way, right, to stop raccoons from reaching underneath in the little gaps, like, because listen, the ground is not perfectly flat. It looks flat, but it's not. There's little things like this, there's clumps of grass, which every single one of those introduces a risk underneath the edge. I can get my fingers in there, you know, all the way up to the palm. And if I can do that, a raccoon can get in there with his little hands and grab on and do some damage. So what I need to do, the physical barrier I'm talking about, in addition to an electrified fence, if they get past that, is I want to make it so that if a chick is leaning up against this 2x4 inside here, that 1.5 inches there, plus some kind of barrier, puts that chick out of reach of a raccoon that's straining up to its shoulder to reach in there. I don't know if I can get there. I don't know if I can get there, but I'm going to try. I need to try. And so here's what I got. All right, so Home Depot, Lowe's, they sell this kind of stuff as a fence post. And you could use it as a fence post. I've used this kind of stuff in the past as a liner around a wood post that goes in the ground just to provide additional protection. And sometimes also to make it look pretty, right? But it's PVC. And this particular set is 5 inches by 5 inches and 96 inches long, so 8 feet long. And so what my plan is going to be here, I'm going to cut it at each corner lengthwise. It's going to give me an L. I'm going to bolt that, or screw it actually, onto the 2x4s along the bottom to create a platform that sticks out. Will it work? I don't know. If a raccoon is strong enough to rip the leg off a bird, it's probably going to be strong enough to break this. But if it's breaking it, then it should be setting up an alarm for the birds inside that they should be aware that something's coming. I don't know, but I got to try something because I don't want to lose more birds that way. Another solution, of course, is just to get dogs, and dogs are a good choice, but it's going to take time to raise them. And I'd like to get a solution now since I'm going to be putting birds on pasture tomorrow morning. So I'm going to get after this and see if I can get this put in place. Hopefully it's going to work. Now I just pre-drill some holes, put it in place. I do it with it all sitting on the ground so that I know I'm not, you know, putting it below the level of this or someplace where it's going to break just by settling it down. Just got basically drywall screws. I love these things. And I've got 1-inch washers to sort of spread the pressure over a broader area, but they've only got a 1/8 inch hole in the middle, so there's not a lot of play. Go do it at the other end just to make sure that I'm not going to have it on at an angle. Well, there it is. Had to do some on-the-fly cutting to get things to fit, but door opens all the way. This gives another 5 inches all the way along. I screwed it up back here a little bit. I did an angle cut thinking that was going to be enough so I could slip the tire on, and I was still banging it up here, so that was a clean cut. And over on this side, boom. I had so much tension on it at this point it shattered. So that's my concern when dealing with the Raccoons. But in the interim, I'm just going to throw that down there like that. All the way up the other side. Good project. I hope it's going to work. I hope it's going to have some effect. It may not. But I'm hoping that the electric fence, the poultry electrified, I'm hoping the electrified poultry netting, in concert with the extra physical barrier, because poultry netting is not a physical barrier, not until they get shocked. If they don't get zapped, they're going right through it. They don't care. So, but this extra physical barrier, which is going to give them that much more they have to reach through, or they're going to have to tear it apart, which should alert the birds inside that there's danger out here. Yeah, hopefully that's going to do the job. Well, that took longer than I thought it would, which is pretty much standard for every project I do. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. So tomorrow morning, I'll get these youngins put out there on pasture so they can start eating grass and scratching and growing big. And we'll harvest them middle of December is the plan. Let's see, got you an update, did some stuff, did some other stuff. I think that's going to do it from here. Talk to you guys later.